Hello there. I just wanted to officially let you guys know I reached my heaviest weight I've ever been in my life, unfortunately, recently. At 160 pounds, which is way above where I should be. What the hell else am I supposed to do, obviously, other than actually focus on kicking myself as hard as I possibly can to adopt daily routines? For a long time, for many, many years now, probably at least a decade now, I have had the knowledge, or the understanding, actually a little less than a decade, the understanding that my body naturally, without doing tons of activity and everything, wants to sit at a healthy 175 pounds, kind of, your lanky, scrawny twig type of person. However, obviously as you get older, your metabolism changes, it slows down and everything else, supposedly, but I want to make sure I can kind of change that. I know I can. Obviously, it's entirely possible. People have done it before. They can get their metabolism to hasten a little bit more and refine and recalibrate itself into a much more healthy, consistent state that's a little higher level, so that way they don't have issues. But ultimately, I realized, especially after I had torn my ATFL in my left ankle, that's your anterior talofibular ligament, ATFL. I tore it while playing basketball, ironically, back in the day, because I'm hypermobile and I kept rolling my ankles, and eventually my ankle did not snap back. My muscles stretched and they didn't want to cooperate after that. After I tore it, I realized that my equilibrium, if I consistently was active, would actually probably be somewhere around 195. That's been the goal, and that is my current goal long term to get to now that I'm going to work on my weight loss and just my health in general. I want to commit to this. So I have an outline on my whiteboard, which you will see in videos off and on, obviously, on my main channel, The Criminal Violin. You'll see at least edges of it, or parts of that purple expo marker writing, which is my daily kind of regiment and my goals that I'm officially committing to as of this video's recording, which is I believe the 9th, yes, the 9th of February of 2026. I want to at least average losing 10 pounds per month, which I think is more than doable. I don't think that's too fast at all. In fact, I know it's not too fast, but at the same time, it's also not too slow. It's like just the perfect amount of weight for me to lose per month. And if the maths, 10 months from now, December, I would actually reach within my target range, because it's between 190 and 200 is where I really want to be. And therefore that would make it to where I would, by then, reach 189 pounds. This whole thing, I decided I wanted to vlog, so I figured this journey, I could make a vlog once weekly after this initial video, tipping everyone off to it, so we can have a start point. So I'm going to take my weight today, and then I am going to go into the proverbial shirt off photo and video clip in front of the mirror in the bathroom. And the irony is that you're going to get a damn good shot because our sink doesn't currently exist in our apartment. It's pretty great. Anyway, or sink in the bathroom, that is. So, you'll get a clear shot of my nice love handles because it's all going on in the tire, the proverbial tire in the center. I am pregnant. Anyway, so we're going to do that. We're going to obviously have the video clip and the photo of the weights. And then from there, I'm going to do a daily journaling of everything I did or didn't do so that I can keep myself accountable. But I'm going to do a weekly vlog. I was going to do a monthly check-in, which will still happen, obviously. It'll be longer videos. But I want to do a weekly check-in where in videos, so vlogs, shorter ones, obviously, for the weeklies, so that it's collective accountability as well, and hopefully also it can help inspire other people that have been having a really hard time with their weight and their health and actually trying to get back into, or for maybe the first time in their life, into a routine that allows them to actually get a lot healthier. Irony is I'm standing in the kitchen right now. And then after that, I'll actually explain to you exactly what my goals are, what my daily routine is going to be, and thus the goals on that, and how I'm going to go about trying to not just lose that weight, but obviously if my default weight naturally in equilibrium is 175 without eating very much and everything else, then why 195 makes the most sense to me if I'm consistently active daily. Look at how fat. Look at it. If I suck it in, well, that actually hurts right through here, which is the lower obliques, if I recall correctly. That hurts a lot when I suck it in. You can tell my core is not really developed. Oh, my back's starting to get upset. Look at the drool. You barely see like the indents. Like the surface level abs want to come in, same with the pecs, but that's it. Look at the jiggle physics. That's so fake, boys. Grab that. Look at that. You at least see the indent all the way around, and there's two indents here. There's one up here, one down here. He's a fat boy. Like, whenever I look at myself in the mirror, because I've played State of Decay off and on through the years a lot, I just look at myself and I'm like, I see bloater zombie. That's all I see with myself is a bloater zombie. I mean, look at this. Even the pelvis is rotated that way, so like, just... I am a bloater zombie. I'm going to explode on you. I'm going to blow my nose. I'm too fat. And like, it's all collected there, because like my legs are fine. Like, look at my feet, they're all muscly. And then you have your calves, which has never been a joke with me. And my legs are a little fatty, but not too bad, especially on the back though. Like, they're fine. My arms actually have a little bit of fat, you can tell, because like resting. But yeah, and let me give you a show here. Look at my double chin. Look at my gullet. Look at the double chin. I don't even have to suck at any there. I can just like do different things. I can just. And now here we are with one of my baggiest shirts of all on. You can still see the fat. So fat sticking out. So like I'm genuinely pretty fat. Because this thing is so, you can just see how baggy it is. Which I love baggy loose clothes so much. And like, you can very much still see my flub sticking out, so we gotta lose that. For the record, that's 65 or so pounds I gotta lose. So, there's that. Now, here comes the fun part. Allow me to talk to you about the goals. One of the first things that have been changing is instead of just straight up drinking water I get fresh out of the tap, fresh. It's fucking highly chemically treated and everything else is just terrible for your health when I first wake up. And I make myself, as hard as it is, I make myself wait because we have an electric kettle. I use an electric kettle and I fill up and drink like 20 to 30 ounces of a liver tonic is what I drink. This is something that actually my relatives apparently on my mom's side had drank a lot every single morning for a long time. It's a really old tonic, basically. So, you know how a lot of people talk about how you just drink as hot of water as you can handle and just gulp it down as much of it as you can first thing in the morning? I add tea to mine, and I usually try to make sure it's a vitality tea or like something with a really got a good amount of beneficial herbs in it that can really spike metabolism or otherwise, you know, help clean you out. And I add the lemon juice and the organic raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. And I make sure I shake both of those up a lot so I can get the pulp from the lemon juice and obviously the mother from the vinegar mixed in there. And then I add just enough honey so that it's not just straight kind of flavor for the vinegar, lemon, and teas. So that's the first thing I've been doing, and I've been doing that now for this is the third day in a row I've done that. And I've actually been IFing this is the second day in a row I'm intermittent fasting, IFing. I actually find that to be very fucking easy to do. I've never had much of an issue with IFing, and I think it's probably because, at least in part, because I'm so used to, and like my past was always just a gazer grazer type. So like I genuinely just normally would never eat like much at all in a day, no matter how active I was. Even I wouldn't even have a thought to eat necessarily because I just gaze into a fridge at some point and then I'd like nibble upon a nut or like a small slice of cheese or like a spoon of yogurt or something, and then that's basically would just be it, right? So I'm already kind of halfway there by default anyway, and I think it's also partially because of attention deficit. When I end up engaging in something, I'm doing something, I get like what I call tunnel vision, where it's actually hyperfixation, where I just like, once I start, I gotta get through it. Like yesterday, it's an all day endeavor because I'm so fucking slow, and it's probably the tism, but for some reason, even when I'm fully focused and I'm just going through it, I'm not distracted by anything, it still takes me so long to clean one small area. So like an example, and I'm not OCD by the way, but an example, my desk area, right? Got to clean out the tower, it off, power out. You wipe down some cables, wipe down the floor, clean my floor mat, my chair, my headphones, my microphone, the microphone stand, the monitor stands, the monitors, the desk itself, even the legs, and my mouse and my keyboard, and you get the idea, right? You clean all that area, you vacuum the shit out of it, I hand scrub everything, including the mat, but let alone the floor over there. All of that. Just that area alone. Fastest I've done in a long time, but it took me 7 hours yesterday from start to finish to do that. Whereas the average person, it would take them maybe, I don't know, I would figure maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. It takes me maybe at max 3. It took me 7. And normally it takes me longer than that. So I've gotten a little hastier, thankfully. So, it takes me a long time. But because of that, it's also without any breaks. I never take a break. At most, I wait as long as I can before I finally let myself get more water and then go to the bathroom. And then I'm immediately back to work again. I'm not OCD, though. I genuinely am not. In fact, you can probably tell because, like, organizationally, things just aren't. I mean, look at what I'm sitting on, right? Everything. I mean, look at the mess over here. Kind of. It's not that messy, but and you can tell that this isn't. It's like semi-organized in there, but not really. I mean, things are just kind of strewn about because it's called lived in, and that's what's comfortable for me. I actually almost need that organized chaos to like I have here in order to actually know where things are, and it also is what it feels safer and more comfortable. And again, I think it's because it's lived in. It feels properly like everything's used as lived in. In fact, actually, look at that. I forgot to fucking put away the spray cleaner. I told you, not OCD. If I was OCD, that would be gone, and also everything would be at a specific angle. Nummy. But long-term goal, which is the hardest thing for me to psychologically get through, is being able to sleep, no matter how tired and worn out I am in every way. To sleep if I haven't eaten. My brain just has this weird, stupid psychology where it thinks it has to be at least half filled, the stomach does, before it'll allow itself to sleep. Otherwise, it'll harass me for hours to try to force me to eat just something. It can be a nibble of something, and then you're like, okay, fine, at least it's something, I'll go to bed. As if it's empty, and we all know it's not empty. That's the hardest psychology to get through with a fast. So, long-term goal, I want to get to where I can go 24 to 36 hours fasting, so that, especially if I can do it multiple days in a row, so that way I can get my body to reset back to the natural primitive state that where all of our human bodies are made to do primally, genetically, which is they don't feed off of food or drinks. They only feed off of fat. So the fuel stores, which is your fat on your body fat content. That's how it naturally is supposed to go, organically, for us. We're not supposed to, like, the food doesn't therefore fuel our bodies. All it's doing is it's actually in that natural organic state, it's actually just simply replenishing that supply that the body is burning for fuel. So that's why and how you reach that good, healthy equilibrium of weight, where no matter what you eat, you maintain that same body type and that same build and that same weight, because your body naturally understands that it's supposed to only be burning and using the fuel that it's storing as you replenish it. Therefore, it's the same amount of fuel that stores that you have the whole time. Which is also why you don't really want to do a bodybuilder type of thing, or a typical masculine thing where you're like, oh, I gotta get down to 4% body fat or 6% body fat. Healthy body fat percentage, especially just in case you end up somehow in a survival situation, you want to make your body goes in survival mode. You want to make sure you have a decent amount of body fat. 12 to 15% is what I would think is the healthy margin, maybe even 18. you have a lot of good fuel stored in your body. So that's another way I want to lose that weight, because then my body's burning the fat store, and I have a lot of it, as you can tell. I'll be losing weight by it burning the fats that I have, and hopefully if I do not return as much food and drink into it, so caloric intake, whatever, carbohydrate intake, that it won't replenish as fast as it's burning, and then that'll help me get to that point. And then eventually, my body, your body has ways to signal you, like, hey, something's wrong, or like, hey, you need to change something, or we need a certain fuel type or whatever. And as long as you learn those cues, you can actually adapt. So once I get to a point where it's, say, I'm at my target weight, now I know I'm gonna need to actually increase my intake of how many calories or whatever else I'm gonna intake per day, depending on how active I am, so that my body can maintain the fat content that it currently has. So I want to get there, so I can be the healthiest I've ever been in my life. So that's another step in that direction. And then obviously I want to at least start by having the amount of food I eat. So instead of, when I eat, eating an entire, fold or quesadilla or whatever you want to call it, like, say, in this case we have taco meat I made, with cheese and everything in there, you just eat a half of that. You cut a tortilla in half, and then you eat that much, and that's all you eat. Maybe with a few tortilla chips or something along the side. Maybe a small cup of yogurt or something. And then your water, because I'm just a water drinker anyway. And then that's it for your whole day of food intake. So, that's the goal I have for myself there. Is I want to be able to have that at least to start. And you think about, the size of your stomach without it distended and stretched versus what you're putting into it, and that's how you're stretching it. You can visualize exactly how big your stomach's going to get depending on how much you're eating. And then, of course, on top of that, you're also distending it more, because now you're also adding your fluids, because you're obviously drinking water with your food. So it's something I want to be more conscious about, and that's something else I'm going to kick myself to do, is really lower, cut in half to start, and then maybe eventually lower it even further, the amount of food I'm intaking, because I clearly don't need it, because I can do heavy labor for a whole day, and it doesn't cause me any problems when I haven't eaten 20, between 10 and, say, or I should really 12 and 24 hours, despite the labor. So that's always cool. Like, I love the fact that my body's willing to work with me on that front. So that's already, I'm kind of halfway there, and I know I have an advantage over a lot of other people. And that's a beautiful freaking thing, man. So I'm happy about that. Now, that said, that's another one of the goals I want to have, both current and long term. And I'm already on day 2 of that, which is nice, as well, along with the fasting. And then on top of that, obviously I want to do at least, I'm starting with some basic exercises, whether that's squats or crunches or jumping jacks, jogging in place, whatever the heck I can do at home. And if not that, then at least 2 miles of walking, because I find it incredibly easy. And like, if I'm not thinking and I'm just walking, I usually walk an average of 2.25 miles anyway, especially when I start that routine again, because I have actually been the most sedentary I've been over the last 5 years. Say I've been the most sedentary this last year and this whole winter so far than I have been ever since basically the start of summer last year. So almost a full year. We're like 2/3 of the way, 2/3 of a year, and I've just been so sedentary. So I need to improve that. And then dietarily, I also want to heavily lower the amount of sugar, especially for white refined sugar, right? I want to completely remove junk, but I also want to make sure that I'm not going to go cold turkey, because I am a sugar addict. I will admit that. So I'm not going to go cold turkey off of it, but I'm going to make sure that because, I live with my mom, that's the we here, and she loves to make herself some treats, and technically us. Well, because of this, I've already had a challenge off the bat with starting this routine of mine, because she made no-bake cookies, which are super sugary, and then she made apple Apfelkuchen. Not technically real Kuchen if you're from Germany, because that just means cake. It's not a cake. It's really an apple crumble, I guess is what most people refer to as. My friend Sean yesterday called it apple crumble by default, even though we said it was Kuchen. He's like, apple crumble, which is basically what it is. It's just slices of apples, and then you have the crumble made out of oats, brown sugar, and cinnamon, and butter, which is super good. And if you're going to eat sugary junk, especially when it's homemade like that, that's already better. And then also when it's technically healthier, right? Then that's fine. I'm still not letting myself eat more than maybe, you know, a small plate of it a day, a month, a day. If only it could be a month, a day. Maybe we'll get to there at some point. Although it would be bad by then, so it wouldn't exist anyway. But yeah, so, you know, and actually, I've been doing really fucking good since yesterday with not eating no bakes. Because they were made the day before yesterday. So I've actually done really fucking great with that because it's either a none yesterday or I have one. I definitely know I didn't have any today because I haven't eaten anything today, as I intend not to until, of course, this evening. Because, you know, that's another aspect to it, right? Besides the junk cut out and then also heavily lowering the sugar amount. And when there's sugary sweet treats that I like around, being able to kick myself enough to have enough discipline to fucking say, don't think about it, resist it, don't even think about it, don't touch it, you know? And I'm so excited and proud of myself because I don't remember ever having these things around and being able to completely resist them and not even think of them. It's really kind of weird, but I'm happy about it. I'm so happy about it, I'm not going to question it. I'm thrilled, you know? Because this is already so, this is a leapfrog of a couple of steps further than I thought I would have been starting this, especially for how long it's been since I've done anything quite like, you know, a health regimen like IFing consistently, which I got chided for by somebody in my comments when it was on my whiteboard in the background, because I keep record of that when I would break my fast, when I would eat, so on and so forth every day. And then obviously long term with the exercises, I want to also get to a point where what I'm gonna do is slowly increase the amount of exercising I'm doing every day. So what I want to do is I want to get to a point, that is if I'm not working, obviously, doing labor stuff or whatever, like the summer, I want to be able to get to a point where whether I'm playing basketball like 2 to 3 times a week in pickup games, or I am, you know, doing like a lot more involved, aggressive, you know, workouts instead of basic workouts, more advanced ones. Whether I'm like running, like if I'm on my walks instead, not just increasing the length that I'm going, but also increasing the difficulty of the walks. Whether that's going on hikes instead, turning them to hikes through, you know, kind of more mountainous terrain, like up at Treehill Ridge Nature Park or wherever else, and increasing the distance in the process, and otherwise in the gym or just on flatter walks, just like going to do power walking for a quarter of it and then a half of it, and then all of maybe turn it from a walk to a power walk the whole time, and then maybe eventually start to try to get myself to jog for short distances, and then eventually increase that to sprint for a short distance or two during my walks, and then eventually run a quarter of a walk to maybe half a walk, and then eventually do runs as well. Doing hard cardio workouts, doing, you know, hard, increasingly difficult cardio workouts and core workouts, and fat burning workouts, figure out what those are, things like that, so that way, yeah, this is, you know, more long term, so I'll build up to that, so then that way, I can do that every day, or every other day even, to really help further burn my fate off my corpse, you know, be able to actually achieve that goal that I have for myself. And like I said, I want to also do these weekly vlogs, which are going to be shorter, much shorter than this, and then my monthly check-ins, which I imagine would probably be longer than the weekly check-ins, probably still shorter than this, because I'd be reading some things out of my journaling, and I'd be reading notes to you guys, you know, for my month, and we'd obviously that's when we do the proper check-in, which is that we see how close we are to achieving that month goal, say losing 10 pounds a month. And also do, you know, again, the shirtless cliche, so that way we can really see how my body's changing, how much, if at all, it's showing up, you know, and everything else. Because, you know, if anything, I owe it to myself to be able to get to the peak of my health and be able to lose this weight, so I can have so much more stamina, mental clarity, motivation, energy, excitability, just general health, not just physically, but internally, mentally, emotionally. I can do so much more. I'll hopefully be able to finally dunk I'm tall enough, I should be able to goddamn dunk. I like attacking the rim, so that'd be fun to be able to start dunking, and then once I get to that point, hopefully be able to consistently dunk, and eventually maybe be able to involve people enough that I can practice dunking in traffic or over people or through people or around people. Man, it'd be so much fun, and that's really exciting for me. So like being able to do that, and then long term, being able to do it so that if I end up in a relationship with somebody, I can carry her, pick her up, whatever, whether it be goofy or whatever else. I think it'd be really fun. In emergency situations, because I want to learn first responder skills, so I want to be able to go take CPR classes, Heimlich classes, things like that, and then also being able to, being able to carry people, obviously, if I need to, from like a car wreck or whatever other first responder incident might happen. And then being able to also, if I ever have kids, right? Then at that point, I can actually go and pick up kids no problem and be able to, do something my eldest brother called giggle giggle wee. Or, stack of potatoes, which is another thing he did, which is so fucking fun. And then, piggyback rides and carrying them if they fall asleep or, whatever, or they injure themselves or whatever the heck else, so that way at least I owe that much to myself as well. Plus, again, the health in general is something I definitely would owe to myself as well. So, because the only one who's responsible for obviously your health and your body is yourself. So, it's kind of ridiculous and it's frustrating and upsetting to an extent. Actually, weirdly, kind of a little hurtful, I would say, actually, for myself. Like, I feel hurt by myself that I allow myself to get to this fucking state at this point. Because for context, I haven't been so heavy like this since I had stage 3 fatty liver disease.
Okay, pause. Here's some context to prove that this is true. Also notice the dates. I was 14 when this was the case. 14. And I don't even remember the hydronecrosis. That's wild.
From being on Zyprexa. It was literally from Zyprexa and being on that medication. And I lost over 100 pounds in 2 weeks. I still have the permanent stretch marks from that weight loss. When at 17, I permanently went completely off of it and all other pharmaceuticals. And I lost immediately within 2 weeks from the Zyprexa. It turned out it also had been bloating me with over 100 pounds of water weight. And so, like, I wasn't actually fat from it, which a lot of people, especially guys, do get from taking, Zyprexa for their whole lives, especially growing up. But it turns out I was actually just fat because I was bloated with over 100 pounds of fluid on my body, which is insane. And most of it was in my core again, but it was also in my face, it was in my arms, it was everywhere. So I owe it to myself to be able to be like, I can't allow that to happen again, and I gotta get away from that and lose a lot of weight, and, for the first time in my life, build my core and my back muscles. Because they don't exist pretty much right now. They do, but barely. So they never really have it either. That's the wildest part. Like, my calves, as you can tell, are literally compensatory muscles, and so are my feet. Like, they do all the work. It's just really important to me to be able to do this, so... Well, the monthly check-in and the weekly vlogs are going to be for maximum accountability. And also, secondarily, again, like I said earlier, in the hopes that it motivates and helps other people and encourages other people to join me in doing something that is very challenging and difficult to make a routine and actually consistently do. This way, again, hopefully it's motivating in that it can get you guys, if you have the challenge like I do, you're very challenged, vertically challenged, aka cranially, mentally challenged, when it comes down to doing these kind of things, and you really don't want to do it and you're very stubborn. Hopefully, these weekly vlogs and the monthly check-ins are going to be able, when you follow along, are going to be able to allow you to follow along in a much more involved, personalized fashion where you're going to try to customize your own routine like this to your own body, your own self and needs and capabilities, so that way you can actually follow along with me on your own health journey. As cliche as it is kind of to do this thing, but again, it's accountability first and foremost, and then this motivational thing second. Because better than self-accountability or friend and family accountability, with these kinds of things is, I think, collective accountability, public accountability. Because nobody's going to be harder on you than people who don't have any fucking horse in the game, you know? That don't know who the fuck you are. You're just some random dork, out of shape dork on the internet, you know? Like, get your ass moving, fool! You know, and I think that's because of how harsh the internet tends to be, because of that anonymity and stuff as well. I think that that's another reason why it allows you to be accountable. Even if they're being vicious and venomous about it, it's still technically accountability indirectly, because it depends on how your perspective basically you look at it with. And for me, I'm going to look at it as, oh, okay, that's a reminder to hold myself accountable and be like, keep going. Remember what you're doing this for. It's for yourself and for the future, your future self, and what all the things you want and need to do, you know. Because I think it's beautiful, the goals I have long term for myself and my life, and what I want to do with it. So I decided to put this in the dead center. I originally was going to put this off to the right for further consistent accountability, because then this is always reminding me every time I edit a video or do a live stream, it's always going to be permanently right here, so that way it always shows up in all my videos, and then also it's better public accountability as well. But I then started writing here, and then I realized why, like most of the way through this one, I'm like, oh fuck. I just left it. So feel free to join me on this journey if you yourself need to lose more weight and all that good stuff, and you want to achieve better health and everything else. And I hope to see you along with me on this journey, let alone on whatever my next video is going to be outside of these videos here. I don't know if I'm going to create a dedicated channel for weight loss, if I'm going to unarchive my Danny Grogg channel that I've had forever and put them up there. I might do that. Or if I'm just going to put them up in the Colonel Violin. It would be best for accountability's sake and traction if I put them up in the Colonel Violin, but it is what it is. This one's definitely going up in the Colonel Violin, though. But I'm actually starting to think, now that I've just thought of that idea, to put it up on the Danny Grogg archive channel and turn it back just to Danny Grogg. I think I like that idea a lot, because then it's not spamming on my main channel, obviously, which would be annoying, I think. And then on top of that, that finally gets use out of the channel after ages, well over a decade since I last touched it. And then on top of that, it's now going to be current content there with the archive stuff from me when I was a lot younger. It's actually not my original channel. My original channel is Grogg Company Films, but different story. So yeah, like that's going to be interesting, because you get to see younger me, 15, 16, 17-year-old me, 18-year-old me maybe, and then all of a sudden me now at 32. I think that's actually pretty fucking funny. So I actually think that's actually a cool way to kind of do that, right? Because you also get to see how scrawny, or you know, how lanky I was at that lower weight back then. And I think it's, well, actually, you can also see me when I still have my Zyprexa bloat, because it was before 17 as well. So you actually get to see that transformation, and then you get to see me now, and I think that's really fucking cool. And then you get to see me lose my weight. I think that makes sense, guys. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this, and hope to see you on this journey with me, and see you around.